Let me begin with a question, not a rhetorical one, but a real one at the heart of this discussion. What does a country do when its values and its interests pull in opposite directions? What does it do when everything it needs, its oil, its people, its trade, lies in the middle of the conflict? That is the question India is grappling with today. And how it answers. It tells us a great deal about its evolution as a rising power. So let us talk about India and West Asia. To understand India's current position, we need to go back to its earlier approach. In the decades after independence, India's policy was shaped by its anti-colonial identity. It strongly supported the Palestinian cause aligned with Arab nations and was critical of Israel. Full diplomatic relations with Israel came only in 1992, reflecting a cautious and principle-driven stance. This phase was closely tied to non-alignment, which was India's attempt to remain independent of power blocs while promoting sovereignty, decolonization, and peaceful coexistence. Its position at this stage was clear and consistent. The 1990s marked a turning point with economic liberalization and the end of the Cold War. India began to recalibrate, establishing ties with Israel, opened cooperation in defense, agriculture, and technology, while relations with Arab countries remained strong. India was no longer choosing sides, it was balancing them. This balancing evolved further into what we now call de-hyphenation. India began engaging countries in West Asia independently without letting regional rivalries dictate its choices. It deepened ties with Israel, expanded partnerships with Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE. It maintained links with Iran, especially through the projects like Chabahar port. In a region defined by competing interests, this multi aligned approach aimed to preserve flexibility. Recent events have tested this strategy. After the Hamas attacks on Israel in October 2023, India condemned terrorism and expressed solidarity with Israel. However, at the United Nations, it abstained on ceasefire resolutions while continuing to support a two-state solution and provide aid to Palestine. In 2026, rising tensions involving Iran again saw India call for restraint and diplomacy while avoiding direct criticism of any country and abstaining in UN courts. These responses can be interpreted in two ways. On one hand, they reflect strategic autonomy, India's effort to maintain relationships across divides. On the other, repeated absentations raise questions about whether India's traditional clarity on issues like sovereignty is becoming less defined. At the same time, West Asia remains crucial for India, whether in terms of energy security, trade connectivity, or its large diaspora. Taken together, this explains the broader shift. India has moved from a largely principle driven approach to a more flexible, multidimensional strategy. But this is not a complete departure from the past. India still supports key principles like a two state solution and peaceful conflict resolution. What has changed is the method, not rigid alignment, but engagement with all sides. This creates a position that is neither purely ideological nor purely transactional. It is shaped by constraints, complexities, and the realities of the changing global order. And that brings us back to the question we started with: when values and interests do not fully align. Choices are rarely simple. They become a continuous balancing act between principle and pragmatism, between clarity and flexibility. India's approach to West Asia today exists in that space. It is not fixed, it is evolving, shaped by history, influenced by present realities, and is still being defined.